All right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're coming at you with our Week 10 preview picks, fantasy football, and betting plays for every single game of Week 10. While we're already in Week 10, and Week 10 has some beautiful, beautiful primetime games, starting us off with the Bengals and Ravens on Thursday Night Football tomorrow or today, whenever you're watching this. And then Sunday Night Football, this game right here, the Lions and Texans, one of the most beautiful matchups. I'm so excited for it. Should be fireworks, high scoring. Nico Collins back. Really excited for some of these games this week. Our picks are really tight. I'm 85 and 67 on the year. Stores is 84 and 68 on the year. Wildly tight all year long. We're within a game of each other or tied. How are you, Stores?
Doing really good. It's been an exciting week. We had the trade deadline this week. Kind of have to. We'll talk on that. When we start going through teams here in Utah, where we are, it is absolutely freezing. So it's officially sweater weather season. It's the holiday season. It's cold here in Utah. It's freezing, but it's been a good week, man. It's a lot of exciting stuff happened. The trade deadline was the same day as the election day, which was crazy. So a lot going on, and I'm just ready to talk some football.
Yep, super fun week, and there's going to be a lot of really good matchups this week, and a lot of kind of Michael Meyer Bloody Murder Game of the Week matchups as well. There will be some beatdowns, including the BYU Utah game this weekend. That's going to be a snot pounding to say the least. But let's get on to the first game, the Thursday night football game. The 4-5 Cincinnati Bengals are going to go into Baltimore, play the 6-3 Ravens, who are 6-point favorites at home, and the Ravens are, you see that beautiful alternate logo. They're going to have that on the field. They're going to be wearing their all purple uniforms. The purple helmets should be a very aesthetic night in Baltimore. Really excited for this one. The Bengals offense is really clicking. No T. Higgins in this one should hurt. No Isaiah Likely. So some star power out of this game offensively. All that being said, though, this Ravens team, man, I really think they're playing like the best team in the NFL, right up there with the Lions. Definitely the best team in the AFC. The Bengals are starting to get better. Their offense is looking better. But the thing that makes me pick the Ravens is that Bengals defense is just scary. I can't even imagine how well Derrick Henry's just going to run all over this Bengals team. So give me the Ravens to kind of just run all over this team. Zay Flowers has been playing on fire. Deontay Johnson comes in and frees things up for him. Mark Andrews playing great. I expect this Ravens offense to just score too many points. I could see a world where the Bengals win because they need to. Their lives depend on it, but I have to pick the Ravens here. They're too electric, too dominant on offense, and they have two MVP candidates, probably the two top MVP candidates in the NFL. Pretty crazy.
It's gonna be a fun game, man. Obviously it's the division game, so you never know what's gonna happen with division games. They're always weird. These teams know how to play each other. But honestly, this is two defenses that are very underperforming and two offenses that are just star-studded. So, I could see this one really being a high-scoring game. This might be the highest scoring game of the week. Joe Burrow throwing 5 touchdowns last week. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry putting up 41 points against the Broncos defense, which is a very good defense. So these teams can score, but also on the other side, their defenses are a little bit vulnerable. So, in years past, this AFC North, these two teams especially have had these hard-nosed defenses and they're allowing points, man. I was going through the Ravens points per game and it's 24, 26, 27, 31. But I mean, they're playing good football. They're overcoming it with their star-powered offense. And yeah, I mean, Joe Burrow, incredible week last week. Mike Gesicki, legacy game. And speaking of the trade deadline, Khalil Herbert, the newest member of the Cincinnati Bengals. We'll talk about that here in a second. But with all that being said, I am riding with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, like you said earlier, are the two MVP candidates. They're playing lights out football. This run game is unstoppable. And Zay Flowers last week, man, he seems to get it going. Mark Andrews is doing good. The Ravens team is just rolling on a new level, and I trust it more. I think they're a little bit more talented of a team, a little bit more well built, better coached, and so for that reason, I got to go with the Ravens.
Yeah, you talked about Zay Flowers. He's just so impossible to guard. And then once he catches the ball, he's impossible to tackle. He just makes crazy moves. He's such a fun human joystick of a player going into fantasy. Zay Flowers is a must start. Lamar, Henry are must starts. And you already know that. We don't need to talk about that. I think Mark Andrews, you can definitely start. He's just playing really well down the stretch. Obviously, no Isaiah Likely in this one. I think you can definitely start Mark Andrews. And I'm not starting Deontay Johnson really right now. Going on to the Bengals, though, Chase Brown, speaking of must starts, is a must start. And you mentioned Khalil Herbert. coming over. I think he will suit up in this game just because they don't really have anyone else, but I only expect him to get like 5 touches, maybe max. Obviously, he'll develop into that Zach Moss role in this offense. So he could be a fun, interesting stash just if you were, interested in stashing Zach Moss. I think he'll be the exact same, just a little bit less good as a pass blocker, which is why I think Chase Brown's just a real league winner now because he will be the bell cow in this offense that's going to be scoring a lot. So really excited about Chase Brown. You got to lock him into your lineup every week. And then Chase obviously is a locked and loaded starter, obviously. And then without Higgins, it honestly hurts the entire offense. Like I think Chase is better with Higgins. The entire offense and team just is better with Higgins, but that man is just not reliable at all. It's pretty crazy. I'm surprised they didn't trade him because I mean, if you're not going to pay him, you might as well get something for him. But I think with the whole Higgins situation, I do think Mike Gesicki is a really, really good start. All the weeks that Higgins doesn't play, Gesicki is really involved in the offense. It's kind of like a slot receiver for this offense. So I'm personally starting Gesicki. I'm really excited about him in this week. So in this specific matchup, they're going to need to be scoring a lot. I would definitely start Gesicki, Chase Brown, Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow speaking. Hopefully you didn't play against Joe Burrow last week because he was just, league winning, week winning last week. And I think that's it for the Bengals.
Yeah, I think you just touched on all that. Absolutely perfect. I don't disagree with you on anything. I do want to just talk about Khalil Herbert. Yeah, he is an interesting stash. I do think it is Chase Brown's season going forward, but Khalil Herbert may be interesting because I was a big fan of Khalil Herbert coming out of Virginia Tech. I always thought he was a good running back, and I always just kind of fell behind in that Bears, deep running back room. But he's an interesting player. Don't know if he'll have too much value, but if you're in deeper leagues or a dynasty. Maybe he's worth just picking up and just seeing the next couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely worth the stash. And, if Chase Brown goes down, he could be a league winner because Khalil Herbert's always been a good running back. That's definitely never been the problem with him. I definitely like what I see from Khalil Herbert every time he touches the ball. That being said, let's go on to the Germany game. Set your alarms early for this one or don't. But Germany gets an electric treat here in this matchup. The 2-7 New York Giants are going to go into Germany, play the 2-7 Panthers. Electric popcorn type of matchup. Daniel Jones versus Bryce Young in this one for all the German fans. Obviously, the atmosphere will be electric. On the field, might not be as electric, might be a little bit low scoring, but you never know. You never know. I would definitely consider starting the Giants defense. Although, like I said, you never know. Germany, weirder things have happened across the world. I could totally see a world where Bryce Young goes off. He played really good last week, made some of the best throws of his career last week, the last few weeks, really. So respect to Bryce Young. The Giants, are just really, they leave a lot to be desired. This offense with Daniel Jones is just not clicking fully. It's just Malik Neighbors versus the world. Tyrone Tracy's really, really fun. So you're excited about some young pieces on this Giants team. The defense is playing all right, which is why I'm going to pick the Giants in this game. I just think they have a overall better foundation with their team. They're a little bit more well balanced on offense and defense, a little bit more star power. I will take the Giants and Daniel Jones to beat Bryce Young and the Panthers. Not confident about it. I could totally see a world where the Panthers just blow up in Germany. It's a weird game, but I'm going to go with the Giants here.
Now, this one is a little suspect, especially because of last week's game. And the Panthers did get it rolling. The offense was humming a little bit. And there's a little bit different momentum and vibe going forward. But there's two players on the Giants that just are the deciding factor for me. So I'm going to side with you, and that's Sexy Dexy and Malik Neighbors. I feel like they're going to create enough pressure on that defensive line of the Giants to get home on Bryce Young and make him make some mistakes. And then on the other side, you just pepper and feed Malik Neighbors, and I feel like this is going to be a huge Malik Neighbors game. So for anyone who's owners of Malik Neighbors, I think this is where you get your 28 fantasy points. This is another big week for him. So I'm excited moving forward with Malik Neighbors. Obviously, coming off the injury, he hasn't done what he did in the first few weeks, but he's going to get back to form. He's getting tons of targets, and I believe he'll find his way into the end zone in this game.
Yeah, the Panthers defense has just been a cheat code for allowing fantasy points. So obviously going into fantasy, Malik Neighbors is a big smash play. Tyrone Tracy, you're really excited about in this matchup. Obviously, both of those players are going to be stars in fantasy this week. Not really excited about anyone else. I don't even think I'm starting Wan'Dale Robinson. He has 3 to 4 stinkers in a row. I'm kind of staying away from him. I think he's getting close to drop territory, really. So it's really just those two players with the Giants. For the Panthers, obviously, Chuba Hubbard is a must start, but you got to watch Jonathan Brooks. He will make his season debut this week. If he doesn't, then he's out for season automatically. So you definitely got to monitor that. He will be getting some go, but I think they're going to really slowly ease him into things. And Chuba Hubbard's still a start. Xavier Legette, I think, is definitely a start. Xavier Leggett, however you say it, I messed it up every single time, but I think he's a start. He's definitely playing really good with Bryce Young. I think that rapport is going to keep building. So I'm excited about Leggett. And I think that's it for the Panthers. Not really looking to start anyone else. I don't know if Adam Thielen's playing, but I probably wouldn't start him. So I think it's just the two players for each team and then the Giants defense. Anything you change?
No, nothing I would change there. I just say, this is probably the snooze fest of the week. And, I'm not sure if I'll be able to get up for this game. I don't know if it's going to motivate me to get up for that early 7:30, I believe it starts at 7:30 our time. But yeah, this might be the snooze fest, and I might be hitting snooze on my phone for this one.
Well, I would say you have to watch it, but since we both picked the Giants, it's a lock. You don't need to watch it. We no one needs to watch this game. The Giants are going to win this football game, and the line did just go up. By the way, it's 6.5 points for the Giants now since Bryce Young came in. Since Bryce Young was named the starter, so you can definitely be confident starting the Giants defense in fantasy. With that, let's go on to the first of the 1 p.m. Sunday games. A really fun matchup. The 6-2 Pittsburgh Steelers are going into Washington, playing the 7-2 Commanders. Commanders are 3-point home favorites in this one. Russell Wilson versus Jaden Daniels. Two teams that are interestingly kind of going all in. The Commanders bring in Marshawn Lattimore, who should be matched up on George Pickens in this one, which is really interesting. And then the Steelers bring in Preston Smith from the Packers, and they also bring in Mike Williams from the Jets. So two, veteran additions to help with this team that's playing really well with Russ. Russ is playing some pretty solid surgical football. So really good game here, honestly. I think it could easily go either way. If it was in Pittsburgh, I would definitely pick the Steelers because we know how they play at home. The Commanders defense, though, has really been stepping up. Obviously, Frankie Louvu right here has been a revelation for Dan Quinn this year. I'm going to go with the Commanders. Bringing in Marshawn Lattimore, I'm not positive he plays, but if he plays, I'm really excited. I think the defense really is fired up at home in this big matchup. I think Marshawn Lattimore can, limit George Pickens, and then I'm not too excited about Russ this week in this specific matchup if Lattimore plays, honestly. So give me the Commanders. Jaden Daniels has just been too good. He's just a revelation. Terry McLaurin's been awesome with him, a touchdown machine. Hopefully Brian Robinson can go, but either way, I'm going to pick the Commanders.
Yeah, I got a Seekers 3 for 3 so far, but yeah, I'm siding with you too. This Commanders team is hard to pick against them, man. Even though this is a solid, good Pittsburgh Steelers team, and however, I feel like this will be a very, very good test for, Jaden Daniels because that Pittsburgh pass rush and that Pittsburgh defense is for real. I mean, they are just a nightmare for the quarterback. But I do trust Jaden Daniels' Commanders. I mean, the way they're playing offense and, the way Cliff Kingsbury has this offense rolling, man, it's just on a different level. And like confident I can say, this is a team that can compete with anyone. I mean, in the NFC, I'm looking at teams and my two favorites right now are the Lions and the Commanders, to be honest with you. And it's crazy saying that with a rookie quarterback and a new head coach and a pretty much, this team this is their first time really gelling and meshing together, and you're 7-2 with a rookie quarterback. Crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. They're playing way over expectations, and this is the Commanders are a playoff lock, and yeah, I'm it's going to be hard to pick against them unless they're playing a Vikings, unless they're playing Lions, It's just, for I guess for the NFC, obviously, the AFC, they're playing the Chiefs, Ravens. It's just going to be hard to pick against them because they're playing very well-rounded football right now, like on all sides of the ball, all three phases. It is a sound, clean team. But it's going to be exciting, though. I don't know how much, the Pittsburgh Steelers were buyers at the deadline, obviously acquiring Mike Williams and Preston Smith. So, you know, it's getting they're wanting to be competitive. The Steelers are trying to make a run, and it's gonna be a tough, hard fought game. And I like the line for this because I think it is a field goal decision.
Yeah, it's damn near a pick 'em in this one. Could easily go either way. Going into fantasy for the Steelers, I do think Russell Wilson could be a spot start. I mean, the Commanders have allowed a lot of points to opposing quarterbacks. Personally, I would look elsewhere to a game that's projected to be higher scoring, like if there's Tua or Matthew Stafford on your waivers, I think I would definitely strongly consider them over Russ, but I think Russ is right after them. I definitely would not mind starting Russ in this matchup. And then obviously George Pickens, you have to start. He's projected like 16 points on ESPN, even with Marshall Lattimore coming over here. So got to start him. Najee Harris has kind of moved himself into must start territory. And then Jalen Warren's kind of just that dart throw. I wouldn't really want to flex him unless you're really desperate with buys and injuries. And I don't think there's anyone else for the Steelers. I'm not really looking to start Pat Freiermuth in this matchup. The Commanders have been playing really well on defense. And then this Commanders on offense, I'm obviously starting Terry McLaurin, Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson. If he goes, then no one else. And if Brian Robinson doesn't go, I will start Eckler. But I think that's it for this matchup.
Yeah, 100%. Do you think Mike Williams will ever be fantasy relevant this season with the Steelers and even with Russ's deep ball?
No, I would never pick him up because even if he is relevant with the deep ball, it would be like 1 to 2 plays a game. I can't trust Mike Williams. Shout out to Calvin Austin. He's playing pretty good, but I don't think I could ever roster Mike Williams until he like really gets like a more than 5 target game, which I just cannot see in the cards here.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I don't think Russ can really feed multiple receivers. This day and age, and Mike Williams, you are just so dependent on that 50-50 jump ball, which I believe George Pickens is probably the only player that might be better than Mike Williams at that 50-50 ball. But you know what? It actually been, in a different world, in a different scenario, if the Commanders traded for Mike Williams, that would have been a really good fit in
Mhm.
that Cliff Kingsbury offense to be that number two to Terry McLaurin. That would have been a cool fit. I wish we would have seen the Commanders, be buyers for a wide receiver at the deadline.
Yeah, because George Pickens is pretty similar to Mike Williams. But yeah, there will be some beautiful plays down the field that Russ throws up to Mike Williams. I just don't know if it'll translate to fantasy. Doesn't excite me too much. But yeah, I think that's it for fantasy. Anything else you want to say in this game?
No, it should be a real nail biter. I'm expecting this to be my nail biter of the week. I feel like this one's going to be, having the fans very stressed out. And as Scott Hansen said, it's going to that one score game in the witching hour.
All right, Stores a sweaty nail biter of the week here. You heard it here first. We'll go on to the next game. The 5-4 Denver Broncos are going to go into Kansas City, play the 8-0 Chiefs in the AFC West division battle. The Chiefs are 7.5 point favorites at home, coming off that close win at home against the Buccaneers. Why are the Chiefs at home every single week? I don't know, but it happens. Going to be an interesting matchup. The Broncos just came off of a snot pounding against the Ravens. That offense just was too much for the Broncos defense to handle. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson are way too much to handle. I don't think that this Chiefs offense is like that. I think every single Chiefs game is very close, very competitive. They kind of play down to the opponents, and that's just their play style. Really, they like to play defense, run the ball, and just win the game in the end. So that's kind of how I see it going here. I think the Chiefs are due. I think they're getting by with some squeaker matchups. I think I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick the Denver Broncos to pick to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, ruin the undefeated season. I don't care. This is probably the craziest prediction I've ever had in any of our episodes ever. But give me Bo Nix and the Denver Broncos to go into Kansas City
Let's
and win.
go.
It's the craziest thing I've ever heard, really, ever said. It's just a crazy thing, but it's kind of a gut feeling. And I just feel like the Chiefs are due. I think the Broncos defense could really smother Mahomes, the pass rush, the passer tan. I really think that they could do some things to frustrate Mahomes. And I mean, they're just always in close games. So surely in one of these weird division battles, they got to just lose it in the end and some weird things happen. I'm going to pick the Broncos. Bo Nix has been playing really, really safe with the football. I don't think he turns it over too much. I think Mahomes could turn it over once or twice in this game, and that could be the difference. So give me the Denver Broncos to ruin the Chiefs' undefeated record.
I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. I'm glad you did that. I'm very glad you did that. I wanted you to do that. However, I'm not that bold. I've said in previous podcasts, if you've listened to me, I will not pick against the Chiefs. I'm not doing that anymore. I will die on this throne of the Chiefs because it's reckless. It's quite frankly reckless to pick against them. Even if they are a beatable team, it is quite frankly just insanity to pick against them because they find a way to win. They always do. And it's maddening. But in a different realm, universe, I can see it. I can see the Broncos and Sean Payton and Bo Nix being the team to upset them. Like, I get it. I'm there with you. But however, I'm gonna stay on the the smoother path, the not reckless path, and I will with a heavy heart, and that wants to pick against the Chiefs because they are the evil. I will pick them because I actually want to win in pick'ems.
Yeah, you got to be a crazy psycho to pick the Broncos to win this game, to pick against the Chiefs for sure. So, yeah, really, really good matchup, though. It should be a fun game. I think it'll be a pretty close one. That 7.5 point line indicates that the Chiefs should be winning pretty handily, but I do think it'll be close. I can see a Kareem Hunt touchdown or two. I think DeAndre Hopkins has an off game with Surtain opposite of him. So I'm not too excited about Hopkins in fantasy in this specific matchup going into fantasy. Hopkins, you kind of feel like you have to start after last week. But like I said, Sertan opposite of him, not really excited about it. If you can pivot off of it, I would. Kareem Hunt's moved himself into must start territory, even in this matchup. And then I'm not really looking to start Xavier Worthy unless you're really, really just needing that dart throw for a long touchdown, which you can get like once every 3 to 4 weeks, which so it could happen. But not excited about him. Travis Kelce is a must start, obviously, with the volume. And then for the Broncos, Cortland Sutton, I do think is a start. He's coming off two 100-yard games in a row for the first time in his career. He got that passing touchdown last week. They're really starting to get him involved. So I do think Sutton's a really good flex. And then Javonte is also a pretty good flex because of the receiving volume. I'm not excited about him on the ground against this Chiefs defense, which is really like the best against running backs on the ground. So it's a little bit scary of a matchup, but I do think Javonte can be started in the flex just because of the receiving floor. The Broncos should be throwing the ball a lot, and he should be able to, provide a nice floor receiving wise. But I think that's it fantasy wise. I'm not really looking to start Bo Nix in this away, divisional versus the Chiefs matchup, and I'm not really looking to start Mahomes either. So it's really just those few options.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. I think you just hit the nail on the head with that. And listen to Dan. He's the Broncos guru. So if he says start Javonte, I better start Javonte. Would you start Javonte over Jordan Addison? I'm deciding between the two in my flex.
Oh, that's a tough one. Who do the Vikings play again?
Vikings play.
The Jaguars. Okay, I honestly, I really like that matchup for Jordan Addison. They weren't playing the Jaguars. I would probably say Javonte for sure. This Chiefs matchup, on the other hand, is really tough. I mean, I don't know if Javonte will get much on the ground at all. You're really just relying on the receiving floor he provides you, which could be like five-ish points. I honestly think I would go Jordan Addison. I just don't see like a 20-point performance from Javonte, but I can definitely see that from Jordan Addison, if that makes sense. But it is kind of close. I'd have to look at underdog lines to make the final decision. But
I think Javonte has the floor, and then I think Addison is the ceiling. So I guess depending how desperate I am or how desperate other people, if they happen to have that exact same flex scenario, are. If you're in a must win and you need the upside, Addison. I think if you want the safer floor, I think Jordan or excuse me, Javonte Williams actually does provide that, safe 9, 10, 11 point floor.
yeah, I definitely agree with you. Who are you starting at this moment?
I have Jordan Addison in, but it's subject to change depending because I'm projected to win by a healthy margin, but I don't know. I don't know. Javante's floor is very, very tempting for me.
Yeah, I would definitely have Addison in my lineup right now, and I would think about it. I'll look at the lines on Underdog after this to see if, there's a big difference, but I think it's pretty much a coin flip. I would probably honestly go with Addison.
Yeah, it's the matchups, right? So yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna do with. But you can just see that Addison 2 point stinker, coming, where Jettis and Hawkinson and everyone just get all the receptions over him. Um, it's tough. It's a tough Jordan Addison fantasy owners. It's been a tough sled so far. It hasn't really paid off his value yet.
Yeah, I could see that if they weren't playing the Jaguars. I think since they're playing the Jaguars, that's like the one matchup that I'll be really confident with Addison on, honestly. But yeah, I'm gonna pick the Broncos to be the one that beats the Chiefs. Just get in Mahomes' head, kind of make him have an off day. And with that, let's go on to the next game. The 4-4 San Francisco 49ers are going to go into Tampa Bay, play the 4-5 Buccaneers. The Niners are 6.5 point road favorites in this one. Christian McCaffrey is at practice today, is at practice yesterday. He should be back this week to make his debut. Everyone that drafted McCaffrey first overall, you can rejoice. Your king should be back. The league winner is back. No one touches this guy in fantasy football when he is healthy. So it's really scary. If you don't have Christian McCaffrey, like I do not in our league, it's really scary to think about because he is a tier of his own in fantasy football. Hopefully he's healthy and he can just be a complete workhorse for this team because he's a lock for a touchdown or two every single week, maybe even a lock for two touchdowns plus every single week. He is an incredible football player. He really moves things. Meanwhile, with the Buccaneers, questionable decision not to go for two at the end of that Chiefs game. By the way, I think everyone in the world knew that they needed two or else they weren't going to win that game. So unfortunate with obviously the rules and overtime. You knew that they had to go for two there, and Todd Bowles kind of fumbled that one like he did when Godwin got hurt, but we won't talk about that. No Godwin, no Evans in this game, so the Bucks are really just going to be spamming K-Dot and Rashad White, Bucky Irving out of the backfield. Not really much of a receiver game for the Buccaneers. I got to go the 49ers. They usually start off slow and then they really turn it on and they're like a snowball that just gets bigger, better, badder every single week. Give me the Niners in this Christian McCaffrey return game to really just, pop off. I think Jawan Jennings should be back healthy. You get Ricky Pearsall in there with Debo back healthy. Really excited about the 49ers. I think they're getting healthy at the right time, and I think they're going to really pop off in this matchup.
Yeah, I am on that same page. It's Christian McCaffrey's season right here, and makes you feel any better, Dan, the guy in our main fantasy league who is getting Christian McCaffrey also has Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. So that is an absolute nightmare and terrifying for the fantasy playoff.
Disgusting.
Yeah, just absolutely terrifying. Not sure why I was so low on Derrick Henry. Just maybe his age, maybe it was just I don't know, just a little grossed out. Derrick Henry and it's just it's an incredible team. It's very scary for the fantasy playoffs that are going to be coming here in the next few weeks. But yeah, I think this should be a game where the 49ers honestly are just the more talented. They're getting healthier at the right time, and they're just going against a depleted Bucks team. And that loss, to the Chiefs was so brutal. We all knew it was happening. It was an inevitable, when you go to the overtime with the Chiefs, it doesn't matter. They will win. The Chiefs will win in overtime. It doesn't matter the circumstance, they will win. And for Todd Bowles not to go for two is honestly, it's a fireable offense. I think the entire NFL, the entire fan bases of everyone knew that if you didn't go for two, you were losing that game. So what a just dumb, reckless decision. And they deserve the win. So it's tough to see that. The Buccaneers, even with how depleted they are, Baker Mayfield is just going out there. He is a dude. He goes out there and he fights till the very end. And you got to respect it, man. It is a hard playing, hard fought football team. But like you said, this 49ers team gets rolling and they're going to be hard to stop. They start out slow, they'll take a couple losses, but it seems like they're ready to bounce back, and I think this is the team to do it against.
Yeah, Bucks have lost three in a row here. They're kind of just trending in the wrong direction ever since those big injuries on offense. Shout out to Baker Mayfield, though. I think it's inarguable. Baker Mayfield has been a top 10 quarterback in the NFL in 2024. I really don't think you can argue it. He's up there with the great quarterbacks like Justin Herbert. I really think he is up there in the top five to top 10 conversation in the way he's played this year. I do want to give him his respect because it's just every time I watch this Buccaneers team, it's like incredible stuff that I'm seeing from Baker Mayfield, even throwing to Trey Palmer and Sterling Shepard. It's really awesome stuff that Baker Mayfield's doing. So he's going to keep them in this game like he did against the Chiefs. Baker Mayfield's keeping them in every single game, kept them in that Ravens game for a little bit until those injuries really started to happen. So it's going to be an interesting one, but the 49ers will prevail. They will win in Tampa Bay. In my opinion, going into fantasy, obviously Christian McCaffrey, you're starting the hell out of him no matter what. If he's playing, if he doesn't play, you're starting Jordan Mason. If Jordan Mason and McCaffrey both don't play, you're starting Guerrero. There's kind of a lot of moving parts here in this running back room, but it should be McCaffrey full go. You're starting Debo Samuel, obviously. If Jawan Jennings goes, I think he's a good play. If he doesn't go, I think Pearsall's a good play. So monitor that as well. A lot of moving parts with the Niners. Obviously, George Kittle's a must start. Top tight end option. Speaking of top tight end options, Cade Otton must start, automatic 20 points while Mike Evans is out. He is just a league winner at this point. He's an incredible, incredible tight end option. If you got him, Rashad White, you can start because of the receiving. Bucky Irving, I think, is a nice flex play as well because he's really running it well and he's getting some receiving work as well with all these injuries. Don't really want to start any of these receivers, even if Jalen McMillan plays. I don't really want to start any of these receivers. I think it's just those three guys. For the Bucks, not looking to start Baker. I would start Purdy, though. I think this is a good matchup for him. Anything else on this one?
No, well, like you said, Kate Otten is a dude as well, man. I mean, what an absolute league winner. I think he will be for the rest. Even when Mike Williams come back, I think this rapport that him and Baker Mayfield have is awesome, and he's getting absolutely peppered with targets right now. So, you know, he's an incredible candidate going into the fantasy playoffs. And honestly, I wish I could say he was a, go buy candidate, but I believe his value is much too high to even go and try and trade for him right now.
Yep, real true league winner for K-Dot. And let's go on to the next game and NFC South battle. The 6-3 Atlanta Falcons, who are really popping on all cylinders, are going to go in New Orleans, put the 2-7 Saints. The Falcons are 3.5 point road favorites in this one. Give me the Falcons. I'll get my pick right out of the way. I'm going to say this is my lock of the week with 100% confidence. Might be bold. The division matchup in New Orleans could be a trap game. I don't care. I'm picking the Falcons are playing really good on especially in offense. This offense is looking beautiful, like one of the best offenses in the NFC. Kirk Cousins is playing damn near MVP football. I would say he's got to be top five in the MVP race with Baker and obviously those two Ravens players. So really exciting stuff for Kirk Cousins' Falcons offense. Bijan Robinson's really starting to click. Hopefully Drake London can go in this one, but even if he doesn't, Darnell Mooney is going to go off. So give me the Falcons kind of we saw it. Dennis Allen gets fired. They lose to the Panthers. If you lose to the Panthers, I'm probably not going to pick you for the rest of the season, unfortunately, until proven otherwise. So, kind of simple here. Give me the Falcons in my lock of the week. Add this to your parlays. I don't think it's going to be close.
Yeah, Dennis Allen, fired out of there. Thank goodness. Something that's been needed to be he's been needed been fired for a while now. You pawn off Marshawn Lattimore. He is no longer on the team. And yeah, just a Falcons team that is rolling, man. Another very good football team. Too much talent on that Falcons roster. It'll overwhelm these Saints. And like you said, are you calling this any game of the week here? Any kind of bloody murder game?
I'll give it my lock of the week and my Michael Myers bloody murder just game of the week. It's going to be a bloodbath in New Orleans. Not even close. Just lock it up.
I 100% agree with you. Give us the Michael Myers game of the week, baby. Absolutely just murdering Derek Carr. Derek Carr might even be done for the season after this game with how bad this is going to be. It's going to be a beating, man. It's going to be a good old fashioned, good old fashioned butt whooping right there.
Literally no Chris Olave in this game. It's literally going to be a check down to Alvin Kamara every single play. That's going to be the offense. Run, check down. Every single play of this Saints offense is going to be very, very rough this week. So give me the Falcons and just like we said, a snot panding, ass beating, Michael Myers, bloody murder game of the week. And fantasy, you're starting every single Falcons option. Obviously, if Drake London goes, you're starting him. If he doesn't, you're not starting him. Pretty simple there. I think Tyler Algier could even be if you're really down bad at running back, could maybe even be a play here just against this team. They're going to run the hell out of the ball because they'll be up by so much. So really excited about every single Falcons option. Start Kirk as well, definitely. And then for the Saints, it's literally Alvin Kamara, not touching anyone else.
Yeah, 100% agree. I will throw out one name just for a dart throw, Taysom Hill.
Yeah, that's actually a good shout. Taysom Hill, I was gonna pick up if I couldn't get Mike Gesicki. I think Taysom Hill could actually be a good play at tight end if you need someone. Last week he was a really good play because Jamal Williams didn't go, so he was literally the backup running back. I think Jamal Williams will play in this one, so he's not as good of a play, but he's definitely should be rostered and definitely can be played as well.
Yeah, 100%. But yeah, should be a beatdown. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah, get right off of this game. Let's go on to the next game. The 2-7 New England Patriots are going to go into Chicago, Soldier Field, play the 4-4 Bears, who are 6.5 point home favorites in this one. Pick number one versus pick number three. Really good matchup, honestly. It's going to be cold and windy in Soldier Field. You got that home field advantage for the Chicago Bears, and that sloppy field might be wet, might be gross. Going to be a good matchup. Drake May hasn't really thrown the ball too well, but he's ran the ball extremely well. So shout out to Drake May. Caleb Williams has not thrown the ball well at all. Watching that Cardinals game, I mean, he was just spraying balls on the floor. I was a little bit shocked by how, inconsistent his throwing was. It looked like he was getting better, but that Cardinals game was really, really rough. The offensive line wasn't holding up against a pretty mid Cardinals defense. So a little bit worrying. Rome Odunze does look awesome, though. So you're really excited about Odunze. I think you can start him in fantasy. A little bit hard to pick here. I'm going to pick the Bears to bounce back, though, after that rough performance in Arizona, I am going to pick the Bears. I think their defense is a lot better. I think they're going to get some pieces back healthy, like Montez Sweat. So give me the Bears. I'm just not too impressed with the Patriots. I picked them to beat the Titans, didn't work out. So give me the Bears.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you there. I'm definitely on the Bears side, even though I think this should be a fun matchup. I will go so far to say is Drake May, in the few short weeks that we've seen him, I'm a little bit more impressed with him than I am, Caleb Williams at the moment. I admire Drake May's sturdiness in the pocket. I admire his field presence. I just admire his presence a little bit more. His arm talent is just undeniable. And, with a terrible depleted team, he's keeping his team in there and he's fighting hard. Yeah, he's played even with some decent defenses. So, I just want to give our kudos to Drake May. I think he's going to be a very, very good quarterback. I think both these quarterbacks will both be very good. But Caleb and his accuracy has been concerning. There's some stuff he needs to clean up. You can tell his footwork needs help. I think that's what leads to a lot of inaccurate balls. I feel like he's so scatterbrained to, like he's trained in college just to escape the pocket and go make a big play. Doesn't work in the NFL with, these edge defenders who are just so fast, so physical, so strong. And it's hard to get away from him like it is the college talent. So I think he will be fine. I think there's some stuff that he needs to clean up, maybe get a better offensive coordinator, maybe a better offensive minded coach for Caleb. But again, I am rolling with the Bears just because this defense and the overall roster talent is in a much better situation than the Patriots tonight, and I do trust that to overwhelm the Patriots.
Yeah, will be a close game though. Could definitely go either way. I'm going to take the Bears though at home in the conditions. Give me the overall better team, the better defense, better roster, even if Caleb has not looked too impressive. Shout out to DeAndre Swift. Speaking of impressive, he's been awesome. Let's go into fantasy though, because we have to make a decision here on the spot. We have right now in our co-manager league, we have Marvin Harrison Jr., DJ Moore right next to each other, inserted into our starting lineup at receiver. We need to replace one of them with Drake London because I'm starting Chase Brown and J.K. Dobbins over both of those receivers. So we're gonna put Drake London in for either Marvin Harrison Jr. or DJ Moore, and we've got to decide who it is. Like, I don't think DJ Moore is a must start at this point, which sounds crazy with how high we drafted him. The last 3 games, he's had 7.3 points, 5.4 points, and 6 points. So that is absolutely disgusting. And Marvin Harrison has not been any better at all. 3 points last week, obviously 23 the week before, and then 5-0-5 the 3 weeks before that. So that is some gross, gross options with how early we drafted both of them. We have to decide to bench either Marvin or DJ Moore. And I honestly don't know.
Honestly, I see the ceiling to be higher for Marvin. I can see the weeks being a little bit better. This is so tough, man. I can't believe we ended up with this scenario with two fantastic, not doubting their talent and everything, just the situations around them. If you drafted these guys in our main league, I also had Marvin Harrison Jr. I just gave him away for peanuts. I feel terrible about it. But, the anxiety of going into each week with Marvin Harrison Jr. and just waiting for that stinker is enough to kill a man. So if I can just get a floor of 10, I'm willing to trade that, for probably both of these guys. But yeah, I think I am still leaning Marvin over DJ Moore just because, I trust him to find the end zone. I trust a deep ball to get him more points. And Caleb's inaccuracy, man. And he's not beating, DJ Moore as much as you'd like. I feel like, even Keenan Allen, man. Keenan Allen had, what, 11 or 10 targets last week and what, 2 receptions? It's just the inaccuracy of Caleb is tough, and I think I trust Kyler, to be a little bit better. So I want to say Marvin with little to no confidence.
All right, so Marvin with Drake London. If does Sauce Gardner guarding Marvin change your mind at all? Sauce Gardner is one of the most overrated players in the NFL, I think, in this
I could
current
see it
moment.
just because it is Sauce Gardner. I actually texted the guy I traded him to this week. I'm like, I'm gonna be pissed because I feel like Sauce Gardner is actually gonna get torched on a play.
Yeah, I could see him scoring honestly on Sauce. So, all right, we'll start Marvin and Drake London. We'll bench DJ Moore. So go that kind of helps you guys in fantasy if you have options like that. I think DJ Moore is definitely benchable. Obviously, in like a 12-team deep league, you have to start him, which kind of sucks. I think Romo Dunze in a deep league is definitely a start. I think Keenan Allen's more of just a bench stash piece. Cole Kmet, not really excited about as well with the current state of this offense. I'm not starting him. DeAndre Swift is a must start, really smash play. And then for the Patriots, I think Drake May is a good start most weeks. I don't really love this matchup though. I'm personally in the league that I have him. I am going to bench him for a Russell Wilson type of option. So not really too excited about him in this matchup in Chicago. But most weeks actually I'm pretty excited about him in fantasy moving forward. And I guess if you have to start anyone in the receiving game, it is Pop Douglas. I'm not really looking to start him, but you can throw a dart at him in the flex. And then I think Ramondre is a start. You're still not excited about that as well. I think there's going to be low scoring, sloppy games. You're really not excited about anyone, but those are the two on the Patriots if you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, from a dynasty aspect, I think Drake May, if you don't have him, is a good trade piece because, once this Patriots team gets a solid receiving core, gets clicking, Drake May is going to be a problem in the NFL, man. He's going to be a great quarterback.
Definitely a good player. With that, let's go on to the next game. The 7-2 Buffalo Bills are going to go into Indy, play the 4-5 Colts. Bills are 4-point road favorites in this one. Josh Allen versus Joe Flacco. Get my pick right out of the way. I am going to go with the Bills. The Colts looked really bad against the Vikings last week. I know it was against the Brian Flores defense, but Joe Flacco was really sporadic and inaccurate. I didn't like what I saw. I do think Jonathan Taylor will be able to get a lot going on the ground because this Bills defense allows kind of a lot on the ground, but the pass defense has been really impressive for the Bills. So not really too excited about the Colts this week. Give me the Bills. I think they're going to have just kind of a pounding matchup in Indy. I don't think it'll be a problem at all. I think Josh Allen goes absolutely off fantasy wise. So give me the Bills, kind of straightforward. I just think they dominate this matchup.
Yeah, again, I agree that showing I was a little bit disappointed in Joe Flacco, last week. I mean, obviously he's playing a really good Brian Flores defense, kind of got him off schedule. It took time for him to kind of adjust and try and figure out, where the pressure's coming from, which Brian Flores is so good at scheming up. I feel like the Colts will do a little bit better this week versus the Bills, but the Bills are just so good, man. Josh Allen's just so good. The running game is just clicking. Excuse me. Excuse me, a seeker's sneeze right there came out of nowhere. But yeah, the Bills. Now I'm off topic. I can't even I can't even think straight. But the Bills, I just this team is it's legit, man. Josh Allen is just he's the best football player in the NFL, and I don't really think it's hard to argue. I'm not saying he's like the best at winning in the NFL, but he is the best talented. He's the most talented football player in the NFL and the things that he's able to do on a weekly basis and doesn't get, as nearly as much hype as Mahomes because, he just doesn't have those Super Bowls. But he is just an incredible, incredible, incredible athlete. And this Bills team, I actually like the way it's rolling. I like the way they're moving forward. I see positive, great things. And yes, I will pick them to beat the Indianapolis Colts.
Yep, pretty straightforward in my opinion, even in Indy. Going into fantasy, looks like Keon Coleman will miss this game. So I think Amari Cooper, if he goes, is a start without Keon Coleman. I think Khalil Shakir is definitely a start. I think Dalton Kincaid's a good start without Keon Coleman. I think James Cook and Josh Allen are must starts, obviously. Pretty straightforward with the Bills going on to the Colts. Obviously, Josh Downs has moved himself into must start wide receiver one, wide receiver two territory. You got to start him. Michael Pittman's really just a dart throw. At least you have Joe Flacco, so there's worse flex options than Michael Pittman. If you want, there should be needing to throw the ball a lot in this matchup. If the Bills get up big, which I predict will happen, start Michael Pittman and Josh Downs if you want. And then Jonathan Taylor, I think, is a great, great matchup. I think he gets a really good bounce back game. I think he has a pretty big fantasy week, and I'm not looking to start anyone else here.
No, very excited about Josh Downs though going forward. I know it was a tougher, week last week versus the Vikings. Still 6 receptions for 60 yards. He is Joe Flacco's favorite target, and I do expect a big week from Josh Downs. I think he's a must start going forward. I think he's going to be a fantastic football player. And I mean, just to touch on Amari Cooper, are you well, do you think he could potentially finish the season as a top 20 receiver? Or do you just think that chemistry is not there with Josh Allen to do that yet?
I think this week he could be a top 20 receiver, but with Keon Coleman in here, I just think that Josh spreads it around way too much to too many different players. So I'm not really too excited about his upside, but he will provide just a nice baseline floor. I don't think he'll be top 20 though.
Yeah, I agree with you there, and I think he'd be a good sell candidate after his first week with Josh Allen. I feel like I know he didn't play last week, but I feel like he could be a good sell. I'd probably consider trading, Amari Cooper for like a Josh Downs, just for example, before your fantasy league deadline, I think, or even like a Cedric Tillman, I think, might even be a good piece to go sell Amari Cooper for because I feel like those guys got a lot of upside.
Yeah, I'd probably even take like DeAndre Hopkins. I'd probably prefer him with his new team over Amari Cooper with his new team. I do think Keon Coleman will be more involved as the season goes on. But let's go on to the next game. The 6-2 Minnesota Vikings are going to Jacksonville, play the 2-7 Jaguars. The Vikings are 4-point road favorites in this one. How is Doug Peterson still employed? I can't believe that, honestly, thinking about it. I don't know how there isn't a new interim coach for the Jaguars here, but should be an interesting matchup. The Vikings defense has been dominant. Trevor Lawrence has been a little bit of a struggle bust. This Jaguars team is just beat up as hell. Get my pick right out of the way here. I'll go with the Vikings. I just think that defense will be too much. I think they might score defensively. I think they'll just kind of dominate this Jaguars offense. Maybe the Jags get some, points in garbage time. I think they'll be able to throw the ball. Brian Thomas and Evan Ingram should have pretty good games. Hopefully, Gabe Davis back. Gabe Davis comes back, so Parker Washington can move into the slot, and maybe Parker Washington could be a fun flex option. Obviously, you're never starting Gabe Davis, but I do think the Vikings win here. Pretty straightforward. I just think it's going to be, a lot of Jaguars chasing points and kind of trying to come back in garbage time, and the Vikings will kind of get up big early, and I don't think it'll be too close here.
Yeah, I was gonna say this one might qualify for another, Michael Myers game of the week. I feel like, this is the honorary Michael Myers Bloody Murder game of the week. I feel like Brian Flores is gonna scheme up some absolute crazy pressure to just put Trevor Lawrence in some awful distress. And could this be the week that Doug Peterson gets fired? Could it possibly be 2-8 getting fired for Doug Peterson?
Brian Flores should be able to do it. You would think so, hopefully, honestly, for Jags fans if they're 2-8, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, just to save your season, honestly, fire Doug Peterson, find some kind of, offensive minded guy, get through the season and get a awesome, this is a great offensive tackle draft. Get another receiver, to pair with, Brian Thomas Jr., get some big name player, get your organization excited again because it is just a brutal year for the Jaguars. And there's just not too much to even discuss on this team. Brian Thomas Jr., though, is awesome. That is the bright spot of this Jaguars team. That is the bright spot of your future. Build around Brian Thomas Jr. and get rid of your coach.
Yeah, BTJ is just a beautiful receiver, beautiful player, so fun to watch. Obviously, the big lone bright spot for this team. Going into fantasy, him and Evan Ingram are must starts. They're just going to get so much volume. And like I said, Parker Washington could be a fun flex option if you need that deep dart throw. And then Travis Etienne, man, he is a terrible football player. So depressing how bad he is. Bigsby is not startable in this matchup at all, obviously. So you're not excited about it. If you have to start ETN because they're going to throw the hell out of the ball, maybe you can get the receiving baseline. I'm probably starting him because my option is him or Tyler Algier in a league. I'm completely down bad at running back in that league. I don't even want to talk about it. So yeah, you're not excited about those Jaguars, really any of the options other than Ingram and Thomas. And then for the Vikings, you obviously start Aaron Jones. You obviously start Justin Jefferson. We talked about it earlier, but I do think Jordan Addison's a pretty good start in this matchup. I mean, every receiver goes off against the Jaguars. TJ Hawkinson should be able to finally, get back into things and have a pretty good week here against this pretty soft matchup. So I think the Vikings are all just really good plays this week. No one else really to talk about. I don't think maybe Trevor Lawrence and Kirk Cousins could be some decent dart throws. I think there will be some passing volume in this one.
Yeah, I 100% agree. As we discussed earlier with the Jordan Addison, like you said, should be a pretty high ceiling, also very low floor, flex play, but I think he is worth the dart throw. I think the upside is great for him, and I think you hit the nail on the head with everyone else.
Yep, looking forward to starting the Vikings in this matchup. Let's go on to the next game, the first of the afternoon games. The 2-6 Tennessee Titans go into LA, play the 5-3 LA Chargers, who are 7.5-point home favorites in this one, coming off a booty whipping against the Browns. I picked the Browns, and that made me look like an absolute goofball. One of the few games I picked wrong last week. I don't know what I was smoking before that pick. Honestly, I couldn't believe how bad that defense dominated. Jameis Winston, that defense is playing some really, really awesome football. Justin Herbert's playing flawless, perfect top 5 quarterback football. I'll let you talk about this one.
Yeah, I think we said the Chargers are a pretty good football team. This defense is for real. It is. I'm gonna say it. I'll say it. I don't care. I think this is the best football. I can confidently say this is the best defense in football at the moment. Obviously, it's the best scoring defense in points per game. This team has not allowed over 20 points in any single game this entire season, which is just ridiculous that they don't have even a better record. They should be, honestly, 6-7-1, in my opinion. I feel like there's one loss that was due there. But the Chargers are getting hot. They're starting to roll. Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman are understanding that Justin Herbert can throw the football. You don't need to rely on the run game. You throw the ball to open up the run when you have Justin Herbert. And when they started doing that, J.K. Dobbins started to come alive and the offense just clicked. But this defense, man, it's something special. It makes the Chargers offense look a lot better. It bails them out of a lot of bad situations that they could get better at. But yeah, I'm going to be picking my Chargers against the Titans. I feel like, again, this may not be the highest scoring game. The Titans do have a good defense. I feel like, the Chargers gave up 6 sacks, 3 sacks in a row to Myles Garrett. I feel like Jeffrey Simmons could attack the interior of this offensive line, which is the weak spot. So I am nervous with that. Tony Ballard's starting to light up. I mean, there's a competitive game with, the Patriots last week with the Titans. It was kind of a stink fest. However, the Chargers play a cleaner brand of football. Justin Herbert will make better plays than, whoever's at quarterback for the Titan, whether it's Mason Rudolph or Will Levis, it doesn't matter. The quarterback play is just so terrible that the Chargers defense should take advantage of that and should have another big week and keep it very low scoring, for the Titans.
Yeah, the Chargers defense could be one of the top scoring options in all of fantasy football this week, really, no matter who plays. Will Levis is going to practice more this week, so it definitely could be Will Levis, which is the Chargers defense is licking their chops at the thought of that. Obviously, going into fantasy, you're starting really everyone on the Chargers because I think this will just be a domination matchup. Obviously, J.K. Dobbins should have a great week. T'Vondre Sweat should not be playing in this one, so J.K. Dobbins should be able to run all over with the lead. I think you can kind of just throw darts at the Chargers receivers. Obviously, Lad McConkey is the one you'd prefer to start. Quentin Johnston's more of a dart throw because, I mean, some of those long touchdowns were just broken coverages, nothing you can really count on. But if you want to put him in your flex spot, I think there's definitely worse plays, especially in this matchup. And then going on to the Titans, you're really just starting Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard. I think they're both really good plays. Tony Pollard's volume is absolutely ridiculous at this point, and Calvin Ridley's just a solid flex with a decent floor with all the targets he's getting. I think that's it in this matchup.
Yeah, I think, Tony Pollard with the volume, with the opportunity. I think Tony Pollard, if anyone's going to score for the Titans in this game, it's going to be Pollard. I mean, 28 carries last week is no joke. The volume is there. He also, contributes a little bit in the receiving. He is the clear bell cow. So that's, in Calvin Ridley, you're throwing a dart. The Chargers really shut down receivers, this year out. Cedric Tillman last week had one, garbage time touchdown, which was an amazing catch, though. I mean, amazing, amazing catch by Cedric Tillman. Um, but yeah, I think Tony Pollard's the only one I'm really starting with confidence. And like you said, you hit the nail on the head with the Chargers. I think J.K. Dobbins could have a fun week. I feel like he'll find his way into the end zone. Josh Palmer probably staying away from. I feel like a Chargers tight end might be a good dart throw. I feel like a Will Disley with some designated screens and stuff. I feel like he'll get a fair amount of target shares. He wasn't great last week, but I could see him bouncing back. And then DJ Chark is back this week for the Chargers. Not starting him, definitely not, even with Simi Fehoko being out. I mean, but he could be also not this week, but maybe in the future a dart throw for some long touchdowns, on a week to week basis.
Yeah, Justin Herbert could be started. If you there's definitely worse quarterback options, so I don't think starting Justin Herbert would be bad at all. And like you said, J.K. Dobbins should absolutely go off in this matchup, especially if T'Vondre Sweat doesn't go, which is looking like should be a Chargers dominant. I don't even think I give my pick, but the Chargers are going to win this game. It kind of goes without saying. The Chargers defense should be able to absolutely dominate, especially if it's Will Levis. This might be just one of those mean, comical matchups where the Chargers just really beat the shit out of the Titans. So, with that being said, let's go on to a nice little NFC East matchup. The 6-2 Philadelphia Eagles are going to go into Dallas, play the 3-5 Cowboys. The Eagles are 7-point road favorites in this one. No Dak Prescott placed on IR. Will be Cooper Rush throwing to maybe CeeDee Lamb. Hopefully CeeDee Lamb goes. He didn't practice today, so definitely monitor that, obviously, if you have him in fantasy. But kind of goes without being said. I'm going to take the Eagles here. They're really starting to click, really starting to get healthy. This offense is starting to click. AJ Brown practiced today, really dodged a bullet there with that knee injury. So you're really excited about that. Watch Devonta Smith, though. He didn't practice today, kind of out of nowhere. So possible that Devonta Smith misses this week. So definitely monitor that. But either way, I'm picking the Eagles here. I actually think Cooper Rush could be pretty competent here. I don't think it'll be too much of a drop off because of how bad the Cowboys were playing. I think he'll actually be pretty competent here, be able to throw it to his receivers. So I actually think the Cowboys will be able to score here. I just don't think they'll be able to score with Saquon Barkley, AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith. Dallas Goedert should be back this week. The Eagles are going to be really, really fun, getting healthy. I just think they're going to dominate on the road here. The Cowboys don't play good at home, as we've seen the entire season. With Cooper Rush, I don't think they can beat this Eagles team.
My biggest takeaway or biggest take should be that Mike McCarthy should be fired. I think he's been a crutch to this organization. I think he has let incredible talent, in Dallas, incredible football teams, well-built football teams go to waste. And this Dallas team is depleted. They're not as good as they once were. And it's time to hit the refresh button and it's time to start over. I mean, you have talent. You can build around CeeDee Lamb, you can build around a Jake Ferguson, you can build around a Micah Parsons, but I don't feel like you can do that with the current head coach you have. I think he's toxic. I think he is a terrible coach, and I think he needs to be fired, yesterday.
I mean, Jerry Jones, too. I think the worst trade of all time, NFL history, is Jonathan Mingo to the Cowboys for a fourth round pick. There's not anything that competes with that. DeAndre Hopkins went for a fifth round pick. Amari Cooper went for like a sixth round pick. What the hell was Jerry Jones thinking? That is the worst trade of all time. We haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan, I mean, that was wild. I mean, I thought Mike Williams was rich for a fifth round pick, but Jonathan Mingo for a fourth round pick for a player that is not good at football. Fourth round pick is valuable. Fourth round pick, you get really good. I mean, we're talking about Amon-Ra St. Browns who come out of the fourth round. We're talking about, first thing comes to mind for the Chargers, Tariq Steele, Cam Hart, really good corners. There's talent in the fourth round, and for you to throw a dart at Jonathan Mingo. I mean, Deontay Johnson went for a pick swap, and that's the better receiver. Why wouldn't you get Deontay Johnson? I don't get it. Deontay Johnson went for a sixth or fifth round pick swap for a sixth round pick swap, which is going to be like 10 moves apart. So I mean, crazy. Yeah. Fireable. The Cowboys looking like a mess, and the Eagles are going to punch him in the face. And I hope Mike McCarthy gets fired.
Absolutely pathetic move, honestly. Like I can't even put words onto it. I can't even wrap my mind around that move. Just really terrible for you. Like you said, he's not a good football player. So absolutely crazy stuff going on in Dallas. Going into fantasy, you start CeeDee Lamb if he goes. If he doesn't go, you can start Jalen Tolbert, but I think only if he doesn't go. I think Jake Ferguson can be started. Obviously, you're less excited about him, but I do think, like I said, Cooper Rush will be able to throw the ball. He's not a bad backup quarterback by any means. The Cowboys are going to be throwing the ball like every play this game. So I think Jake Ferguson could be started. I think Rico Dowdle's a really solid start. Obviously, coming off a few good weeks, you're less excited about him as well, but I think he will be, a really high floor option here. So you're starting Dowdle, Ferguson, CD, and then Jalen Tolbert can be that dart throw. For the Eagles, though, you're starting everyone on the Eagles. Obviously, it goes without saying you're starting all their stars. Don't even need to mention them. No really ancillary options to talk about. Maybe Dallas Goedert if you really are down bad at tight end and you want to just throw him into your lineup coming off that injury, you could. I would like to wait and see, how he's used now that he's healthy. It's been a while. So I think it's pretty straightforward in this one.
Yeah, 100,000% agree with you. But yeah, I'll be crossing my fingers for something to happen.
Yep, should be a fun divisional matchup. Let's go on to the next one. The 3-6 New York Jets are going to go into Arizona to play the 5-4 Cardinals. This is an interesting line. It's an even line. The first time we've seen this in any of the games we've covered all 10 weeks of this season. The first even line. It's a literal pick 'em. Could go absolutely either way. It's a really tough one to pick. Obviously, Vegas sees it as the exact same. That's a Hassan Reddick revenge game coming back to Arizona where they drafted him. Should be fun when the Jets really started to figure it out at the end of last game against the Texans. Their defense, speaking of Hassan Reddick, he had 8 pressures against the Texans. That Jets defensive line really starting to step up. So should be a fun matchup. The Jets offense is starting to click as well. The Cardinals, though, just dominated the Bears. They made Caleb Williams look like a fool last week, and their defense really stepped up as well. And they're at home again. So it should be a fun one, man. I'm gonna pick the Jets here. I do like what I saw from them at the end of that Texans game. I picked them to pick the Texans. I'm gonna ride with them to win this game as well. I guess kind of an upset at, the Cardinals who have a better record. I'm gonna pick the Jets. I will say they really do get hurt by scrambling quarterbacks. I think Kyler has a big day running the ball on the ground. I think James Conner has a good day, but I am going to take the Jets here. They need to win with their lives. Their lives depend on it. I'm going to pick the Jets here to kind of bounce back.
I had the exact same reasoning. This one, it literally is very hard to pick. It's very, very hard to pick. And even the Cardinals are starting to get competitive. They were buyers at the deadline, obviously getting Baron Browning from the Broncos. But yeah, I think there's way more at stake for the Jets. And like you said, they're playing for their lives. They're playing for, I mean, they are hanging on. I mean, it's pretty much, you lose 7 games, you're not making the playoffs. So I don't I don't think they will make the playoffs. I mean, they will lose a couple more games, but with the tiny sliver of hope they have, this is just a game that I don't see them losing. Obviously, it was a great, great win. I mean, I guess you could make the playoffs, obviously losing 7, being 10-7. It's going to be close, but not, I mean, the Jets can only drop 1 or 2 more games all season long, which is crazy. And yeah, I think the motivation will be there. I think they're gonna play with their hair lit on fire, and I do see them prevailing against the Cardinals. I feel like Kyler Murray, has not been great. I feel like they are beatable. And I feel like we kind of know what their Achilles heel is, and I feel like the Jets will take advantage of that. It's gonna be another nail biter, but yeah, I'm siding with you on the side of the Jets.
Yeah, it definitely will be a nail biter, as you see by this line. Can go either way, will go down to the end of the game, kind of a coin flip. Whoever gets that last field goal. Give me the Jets, though, in this one, going into fantasy. Like I said, Sauce Gardner is really overrated this year, the 55th graded PFF corner. He's just really giving up a lot. He's not doing too much. So I'm not scared off on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think the matchup looks scary on paper, but I could see him having a decent game. See him having a few big plays here. So I think you can start Marvin Harrison. We're going to start him over DJ Moore in our league. Obviously, Trey McBride, you're smash starting. James Conner, you're smash starting. Kyler Murray's coming off a really bad game. If you don't want to start him, you definitely don't have to. But I do think it's a decent matchup because the Jets do allow a lot from quarterbacks on the ground. So I do think he'll run all over this team. So you can start Kyler. And then for the Jets, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams, they're all must starts. It kind of goes without saying. And then Aaron Rodgers, I think, is actually a pretty decent dart throw option if you need a Jordan Love and you need a quarterback. I think he could be started too.
Yeah, 100%, 100% agree with you there. What did you say? Sorry, there's one thing I might have just misheard. Did you say Kyler Murray's a start?
I just think because the Jets allow so much on the ground to quarterbacks, it's a decent matchup if you have to start him. Like, I'm not really going away from him, but he's not exciting after last week, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it's just something to worth monitoring. If there's a Kirk Cousins, I'd pick him up. If there's a Justin Herbert, I'd pick him up. I think Kyler, he's getting to that point where, where you draft him and the upside for running is definitely there. But he's definitely getting to the point where he's becoming borderline startable. He has his kind of like Marvin Harrison Jr. There's the boom weeks and then there's the dud weeks. So there's a high ceiling and there's a very low floor. This game, like you said, should be pretty friendly, but for coming into the fantasy playoffs, coming into that final stretch of our fantasy seasons, I would definitely look to look elsewhere and see maybe even a Drake May. You could find a little bit more consistency, just because he's going to throw for 300 yards and a touchdown every week.
Yeah, Kyler's definitely no longer in that must start tier. He's more in that streaming quarterback option tier. Let's go on to the Sunday night football game, though. The Seekers game of the week here. The 7-1 Detroit Lions are going to go into Houston and play the 6-3 Texans. Lions are 3.5-point favorites here. Nico Collins is back though, so it's going to be such a fun matchup. Offensive fireworks here. I think it'll be very high scoring. One of the best Sunday night football matchups we've seen. The Texans are going to be wearing the beautiful all battle red uniforms. They're going to be debuting them, so it's going to be really good vibes in Houston. A fun, beautiful matchup. I can't say that enough. It's going to be so electric here. Obviously, this Lions run game is going to be running all over. Jared Goff has been surgical in the little passing volume that he's had. The Lions offense is just incredible with Ben Johnson. And then the Texans, you get Nico Collins back. CJ Stroud hasn't been the same person without him, but you get literally the best receiver in the NFL the way he was playing back. That's pretty big stuff. The Texans offensive line was terrible against the Jets last week. That's literally the difference in this game. I'm going to pick the Lions because of that Texans offensive line. It scares me even with Nico coming back. CJ is going to be awesome. It's going to be a shootout. Could go either way. Could go down to the last field goal. I'm just going to trust the Lions. I mean, I think they're truly the best team in the NFL, definitely the best team in the NFC, right there with the Ravens and the top two teams in the NFL for me. I think they're going to win the Super Bowl. The way that they're looking, they're just really impressive right now. So I don't know how this Lions team can be stopped. I'm not going to pick them to be stopped, even if this Texans team with Nico Collins is absolutely electric. I do think kind of the difference, other than the Texans offensive line, is Joe Mixon has been dominant for this Texans team, and I don't think he'll be able to run as well against this Lions run defense. I think he'll be a somewhat limited, even though he'll still have a good game. I will go with the Lions here and just a fun as hell matchup.
Yeah, I'm definitely not picking against the Lions until, it's one of these elite teams. And, the Texans have definitely shown that they're not what maybe everyone thought they were. I think CJ Stroud has come back down to earth. Still an incredible quarterback, but you've seen without Nico Collins, you've kind of seen, without Stephon Diggs, that there's a little bit of dud weeks in him, which, was a little bit of a shock coming from what we saw last year. And that does affect. But yeah, Nico Collins looks like he's trending towards not playing, right? Is from what I read last.
I think Nico Collins is playing.
Um, Let me just go. I swear I just read the injury report on him. He didn't practice today.
Yeah, I think he'll. Obviously, the Thursday practice report is big since this is a later game.
So yeah, ESPN has Nico Collins as, projected 0 points. Um, he didn't practice Wednesday at all. So expect any setbacks with hamstring. Yeah, so he didn't even register a practice. So I guess if he gets one, I mean something to definitely monitor. Definitely think the game will be a lot more of a blowout. I'm obviously picking the Lions. I think it will be a lot more of a blowout if Nico Collins doesn't play, but if he does play, I think they can keep it close. But it's definitely something to monitor. But I don't know. I guess ESPN looks like it was saying he's trending towards not playing.
Yeah, it is kind of 50-50, it looks like. It says that he passed all tests for the hamstring injury, but he hasn't practiced yet, so it really is 50-50. You're just gonna have to monitor. I don't think it changes too much. I think the Lions win. It would just make them a lot more electric and make the game a little bit closer. But yeah, definitely monitor that. It says he's passed all tests for the hamstring, no setbacks, but in the mobility looks good, but obviously no practice is a little bit scary.
Yeah, 100%. Something to definitely monitor. I think the game will, be I think I think it could be the line will definitely depend on Nico Collins for this.
Yeah, I think I got to go with the Lions either way, but it will definitely be a big factor in the excitement of the game and the closeness of the game at the end because CJ Stroud really does look like a different quarterback with and without him. So going into fantasy, you don't need to talk about fantasy. We're starting every single option for both these teams. You don't need to talk about the Lions at all because there's no ancillary options. Jameson Williams is the only question mark. He's coming back. I think he's a pretty good flex option, though, especially in this matchup. The Lions are going to be just scoring the hell out of the ball. I'd start every single offensive option you can for the Lions, even Sam Laporta and Jameson Williams. For the Texans, you're obviously starting everyone as well. Obviously, if Nico Collins doesn't go, it's just Tank Dell. If they both go, you start them both. Joe Mixon's a start even in this tough matchup. CJ Stroud is a little bit more of like a Kyler Murray, a flex option, but in this matchup, I do think he's a start because they're going to be needing to throw the hell out of the ball. So I really just think you're targeting this matchup. It's going to be the most electric matchup of the week, and it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, the fantasy options are going to be electric. You know, Obviously the Lions score at will, and then, the Texans, the game plan will be, throwing the ball a lot. Tank Dell is a smash play this week, I think, regardless with, Nico or without him. But yeah, this Texans offense is going to be forced, they're going to be down there to be forced to throw the ball.
And I said all these primetime games are good. Let's go on to the last game of the week. Another offensive juggernaut, electric, high-scoring matchup here. The 2-6 Miami Dolphins are going to go into LA, play the 4-4 Rams. Obviously, the records aren't too sexy, but it's going to be a fun game, a fun matchup, high-scoring, two really, really solid offenses getting healthy at the right time. Obviously, you're getting Puka back, Cup back, you're getting Tua back. The Rams are 1-point favorites here at home. It's kind of a pick 'em, really, really tough one to pick. It's literally I think this is going to be the coin flip of the week to me. I think it's going to go down to the last drive of the week, or yeah, literally the last drive of the entire week, the last field goal of the entire week. I think it's going to go right down to the wire, like that Buccaneers and Chiefs game last week. Really hard one to pick. My gut is telling me that the Dolphins win this game on the road in kind of a must-win territory situation, like we were saying with the Jets. They're 2-6. You cannot drop to 2-7 here. I have to pick the Dolphins. They really did play well against the Bills. They impressed me. They played the best they played against the Bills in a long, long time. They really brought that down to the wire. So I am going to pick the Dolphins here. I think Tua's looked pretty good since coming back. Achan's been a revelation. Obviously, the Rams, you got Kupp and Puka back, and they're looking awesome themselves. So it's going to be a really close one. Like I said, it's literally a coin flip. Seeker's coin flip of the week. Give me the Dolphins, though, to prevail on the road.
Yeah, it is a coin flip. I'm going to go the other side of the coin. I'm going to go the Rams. And for the same reasons, we're getting guys back. Puka, coming back from having to leave early for a pretty soft punch. Getting getting suspended on that for rejected from the game. But yeah, I like the Rams offense. This is two star-studded teams. I mean, we've got Jalen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, Devon Achane going against Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Matthew Stafford, Tua. But yeah, I think I like, the coaching better. I think, Mike McDaniel stems from Sean McVay. I think Sean McVay will show him, why he was the guy that had the head coaching job first, why he's the one that everyone aspires to be. And so I just feel like the Rams run a little bit cleaner organization. I feel like it's a little bit more sound. And I trust Sean McVay, honestly. I think the coaching battle of this, I think, is huge. And I trust Sean McVay to overtake Mike McDaniels in that.
Yeah, I agree. Sean McVay is definitely the better coach in this matchup. Obviously, a top two, top three coach in the NFL. Should be a fun one. Literally a coin flip, a pick 'em here. Really, really fun matchup, though. I was a little bit scared on the Rams against the Seahawks. I thought they were going to dominate the Seahawks, honestly, and they made that a sweater. And I was impressed by the Dolphins against the Bills last week, which is kind of the main reason in my picking the Dolphins in this coin flip of a matchup. Really exciting, though. Going into fantasy, you're starting, obviously, Achane, Tyreek Hill, you're smashing them. They're must starts. Obviously, same with Kyron, Cooper, Kupp, and Puka. You're starting all those must start options. I think Tua and Matthew Stafford are both some of the best stream quarterbacks of the week. I would target either one of them if you're in a must start quarterback situation like I have Jordan Love. I'm deciding between literally these two quarterbacks to start this week. And I don't think you can go wrong with either one because I think this is going to be an offensive firepower, just a lot of passing volume matchup here. So really excited about them. The ancillary options, Jalen Waddle, you're not really excited about after last week. Obviously got lucky with the touchdown, but I think if you can bench Waddle, you can. I don't think he's a must start, but I mean, I'll probably be starting him in our 12 team two flex spot. So worse plays than Waddle. Obviously, this is a really good matchup. That's why I'm starting him. Just a lot of passing volume in this one. So you're excited about all the fantasy options. I think Demarcus Robinson, who's had a lot of touchdowns the last few weeks, could be a dart throw in the flex. And then everyone else is kind of just self-explanatory.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there. Should be a very exciting game. Should be a pretty fun Monday night game with, a lot on the line, a lot riding, for both of these teams. It's really can't lose for either of them.
Yeah, a lot of kind of the same picks this week. So we're going to end it off on a seeker split. Definitely have to watch this game. A lot of firepower on both of these offenses. Look out for Jonnu Smith to be involved as well. He's been a pretty good tight end option if you're down bad at tight end. But with that being said, really fun going over all these week 10 games, some awesome primetime matchups. Any extra hot takes before we get out of here?
Dan, what's that jersey you're wearing there?
Bosef Nix.
Give me Bo Nix to outperform Patrick Mahomes in passing yards, rushing yards, touchdowns, less interceptions. But sorry, still to lose the game. But give me Bo Nix to outplay Patrick Mahomes, baby.
In my hot take will be the Bo Nix beats Patrick Mahomes as well in Arrowhead. Give me the Broncos over the Chiefs to ruin the undefeated record. But thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Like, comment, subscribe. Peace out.